Very, very good evening. Sorry, one second. This is better. Very, very good evening, everyone. Sorry, I'm a little later than originally planned. Welcome back to arunfoot for another live stream. And I've got Hiren with me. And yeah, thanks, Hiren, for taking your time off to join me here on this Sunday evening. How are you doing?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
I'm good. I'm also very, very good. Good to see you. Today I've decided let's go back to the topic of transfers. Good evening, also Kumar, and again everybody who's joining in. Welcome for joining in for another live session here. Um, Transfers, of course, always a huge topic that everybody wants to speak about. A lot of transfers which have not been confirmed, or a lot of transfers which are sort of swirling around. What are you hearing in the market, Hiren?
I think definitely, sir. आपने जैसे बोला कि there are some rumors going on, some transfer already happened, some are on the line. Raj is saying is Jamie McLaren done for Mohan Bagan, so that rumor is going for a long time. So I think interesting. Some of the interesting them coming up with the Kerala Blaster that Swedish midfielder has been linked. I think Nicole Eriksson and.
Yeah.
There is a when Chennai FC rumor I recently heard another foreign player. So there are a couple of rumors of foreigners, but the big surprising one for me is the Stekos Vargat is leaving Punjab FC. Is it a real news or is it a still rumor?
Sorry, so I just missed you. Sorry, what did you say, Hiren? Sorry.
Punjab FC parted ways with Stekos Vargatis. Is it a done or is
It's
it a still?
the contract has not been extended. Let's put it this way. There is
Okay.
the coach and the club have not agreed on the figures, so to say, that they would like to extend the contract on. So he wants a higher salary, which the club at the moment is not willing to pay. So therefore, I think as conversations are still on, so there is the potential danger that Stikos might not extend his contract, which would be an interesting thing, I think, for Nikolaos. That would be a big thing. Therefore, one has to be a little careful on that. But at the moment, yes, it is a possibility that Punjab FC might be looking for a new head coach going into the new 24-25 season. So there is that risk, so to say, is a realistic and given risk, but there's nothing confirmed at the moment. As you say, Jamie McLaren, I think that's one of those ones which we've been talking about now for a while, and still there's no confirmation. I think one has to be honest, as I said. I think it was last week or even the week before, that the ownership of Mohun Bagan Supergiant, which of course is on, or rather the money paying side of the Mohun Bagan Supergiant, which is Mr. Goenka's RPSG group, have been preoccupied with the IPL. So therefore, there's nothing been discussed or talked about. So therefore, that's a danger that was there or is still there. That there is no confirmation in regard to what is happening. So again, as I said, that's a real danger that there is, that the one or the other deal which seemed to have gone through but hasn't been confirmed, and suddenly we're all talking about it, and that's the real situation as it stands. um and So therefore, I think we'll have to wait and see what happens in the coming days and weeks, because as I said, the official transfer window is still not open. So that's also a reality, that the transfer window is still not open, and we'll have to wait and see what sort of transpires out of these conversations that there are ongoing. If those will be confirmed, again, Jim McLaren is a good example. Is a good example. I think that there have been talks, but nothing confirmed so far. He has a formal offer from Honbagan Supergiant on the table. The player has not accepted the offer so far. I think the other big news today is Diamantakos in East Bengal, where Kolkata was sort of getting ready, because it seemed like that the player is supposedly accepting the offer. The player still has not accepted the offer. There seems to be a question mark regarding a medical which he's supposed to do. So therefore, I think we'll have to wait and see. And just to go back, uh, 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 and therefore, very interesting one. Ayush asking, is the Punjab FC coach leaving? As just explained, and again, Hiren asked the same thing. I think Stikos, there is some conversation going on what could happen with the coach, but so far there is no confirmation anywhere as such that the coach is leaving. There are conversations ongoing. The club and the coach have not agreed on a new contract, so therefore that's it's a risk, but it's not a confirmed risk at the moment. Let's put it this way. And Kumar puts out a point. What's it take on Stikos to become national team coach? Very less talked coach about Stikos in the ISL. He worked with very limited resources. Um, I don't know. I club national team. I rather have, as I said multiple times, I would rather have someone who has no ISL experience to come as a national team coach. I think a clean slate is needed. Someone who's not biased, who's worked with certain players and will suddenly pick up certain players. And so from that perspective, I don't know what you think, Hiren, but I think not someone that I would look at if and when the discussion starts.
बट उससे पहले भी मतलब पहले ईगोस्टी मैच का तो क्लियर होने दीजिए. स्टिल देयर इज नो क्लियरिटी रिगार्डिंग ईगोस्टी मैच. सो आई थिंक फिर तो काफी सारे मतलब आई थिंक वो तो डिपेंड करेगा कि व्हाट पाथ एफए वांट्स टू गो. इज इट दे आर गोइंग विद द यू कैन से कि द कोच एंड बजट भी देखना पड़ेगा बिकॉज द अपॉइंटमेंट दे हैव डन इन द यूथ लेवल एंड द वुमेन्स नेशनल टीम देयर इज a you can say lot of cut down in budget. सो आई थिंक वो भी हमें फैक्टर इन करना पड़ेगा कि क्या उनके पास लिमिट है, कितना सैलरी वो पे कर सकते हैं, उसके ऊपर यहाँ पे ऑप्शन आपके पास अवेलेबल रहेंगे. सो दैट्स आल्सो आई आल्सो मेरा भी आपके साथ मैं एग्री करूंगा कि आई आल्सो वांट समवन की जो थोड़ा सा मतलब कंप्लीट इंडियन फुटबॉल से आउटसाइड हो बट उन्होंने ऐसी कंडीशन में काम करा होना चाहिए, मतलब लेस रिसोर्सेज के साथ उन्होंने बाकी कंट्रीज में करके डिलीवर किया हो. तो ऐसा कोच अगर हम ला पाते हैं एंड आई थिंक इट वुड बी गुड.
I think that's a very valid point, Hiren. I think we have to be realistic that whoever comes in needs to understand the realities of Indian football, the difficulties of Indian football. I think we're hyping up the ISL a lot. We're hyping up a lot of the players, but what's the standard of the players? What's the quality of football available to the respective coach? And that's, I think, the biggest challenge that all coaches in the Indian national team have. I think it's more difficult to be coaching in the Indian national team than coaching an ISL team because you can bring in players and your foreigners can make a difference. Raj is asking, can signing big names boost football in India? Raj, I go back to the example, to 2014 when the ISL started. And at that time, yes, there was a certain level of impact because you had big names, World Cup winners, Champions League winners coming into India. A lot of marketing spend as well behind the Indian Super League. You don't have that anymore. So a big name potentially could help, but how much does it help long term? I have my doubts. It's because our problem is that the salaries we're dishing out for okay level, mediocre players, foreigners, is very, very high. So to convince a top star to come, if the money, for example, being offered by Mohan Bagan for Jamie McLaren is supposedly right, then the question is there is, what kind of salaries would you have to offer a real top star to come into Indian football? And that's, I think, the biggest challenge that you have at this stage of what's being offered or what's being put on the table. So to me, I don't know, Hiren, what you think, but big name, yeah, certainly could boost. But what is the big name? Because India loves superstars. India don't like stars. India loves superstars.
एग्जैक्टली. एंड दूसरा फैक्टर सर ये है कि हम अभी एट द मोमेंट एग्जांपल देख रहे हैं सऊदी अरेबिया का. उनको भी आप देखिए कि बड़े प्लेयर को लाने के लिए दे हैव टू प्ले पे आई थिंक मे बी आई थिंक मोर देन डबल. अब आप देखिए जो प्लेयर की यूरोपियन मार्केट में अगर कोई क्लब में ज्वाइन करेगा तो 20-30 मिलियन वैल्यू होगी. तो सऊदी को उस प्लेयर को वहां पे उनकी लीग में लाने के लिए जो कि इंडिया से बेटर लीग है और सारी कंडीशन भी बेटर है, एवरीथिंग इज बेटर, then still they have to pay you can say 50-60 million for that player. So for India definitely और इंडियन में तो ऐसे प्लेयर को आप आपके यहाँ पे जैसे आपने बोला कि ऐसे कोई स्टार प्लेयर आएगा तो नहीं चलेगा, उनको चाहिए सुपरस्टार ही, बड़े नाम ही चाहिए उनको. So for that you have to spend a very big, and I don't think so at the moment any club owner are in a you can say कि looking in that direction. To be honest, I think then first of all, though, the clarity regarding the league's future is also, you can say, I heard from the some of the owners asking that what will be the next 5-10 years plan, and this rule change which discussed earlier ki आपका salary cap and everything. So first of all, that needs to be clear, and then anyone can make a, you can say, that kind of a investment. I don't think they will spend now after this 10 year you can say blind money on anything. So I think वो भी हमें देखना पड़ेगा, एंड बिग नाम आएंगे तो देखिए एक पॉपुलैरिटी बढ़ेगी एक चीज कि आपके जो यूरोपियन फैन है मे बी वो यहाँ पे थोड़ा सा वो जो भी क्लब के उनके रिलेटेड होगा तो डेफिनेटली वो देखने की कोशिश करेगा, बट आई डोंट थिंक सो कि उससे आपका फुटबॉलिंग स्टैंडर्ड यहाँ पे एक लेवल अप चला जाएगा.
Agree. I think that's another very important point. Ayush asks views on the Kerala Blasters new head coach, Mikkel Storer.
I think interesting profile, and I think new face है, and हमने तो उनकी फुटबॉल देखी नहीं है as such, so I think it will be interesting to see how he is going to adapt in the Indian condition. And for a club like Kerala Blaster, it's just not about the, you can say, keep playing football and like that. You need to also have that relationship with the fan base, which Ivan Vukonovic has done quite brilliantly, I would say. So that also needs to be, you can say, handled very well, and media and all of that thing, because you are a little bit more under scrutiny, particularly in a club with a big fan base. So I think it will be an interesting decision from the Kerala Blaster management. Let's say it is going to be how it is going to be work out.
Agree. I think that was a bit of a surprise to many. I think there were certain coaches linked. I mean, there was this interesting one which was linking Manolo Marquez to the club. Then there was a link up for Juan Ferrando as well before he went to AK Larnaca in Cyprus. Supposedly coaches from Eastern Europe were linked to the club, and then in the end it becomes someone from Sweden. And we've not had a Swedish coach in the ISL. The only Swedish coach I would say that has worked, who comes to mind, is Thomas Deneby with the Indians women's national team. And Sweden, of course, yes, you've had great players like Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Freddie Ljungberg was one of my players when I was at Mumbai City, one of the invincibles at Arsenal. You have now Alexandra Isak, to
Isaac.
name one. So therefore, Sweden has always had very talented. I think Swedish football has changed over the last 10, 15 years as football, I think, across most parts of Europe have. It's no longer sort of old style English long ball kick and rush. So therefore, an experienced coach who's not only worked in Sweden but has worked in Norway, worked in China, lastly was working in Thailand. So therefore, from that perspective, therefore, yeah, it's something which will be very interesting to see. Are you asking starting goalkeeper? Starting goalkeeper for me, surely, if Gurpreet Singh Sandhu. I think there's no question about that. For you, Hiren?
Yes, obviously. I don't think so. Igor Smith will take any risk. I think he will go with GSS.
I was going to ask starting midfield. Starting midfield depends on who's fit. I think that's the first question. There are some injury concerns in the Indian squad still. Certain players have left the squad. So that's an interesting one. If out of a list of 41, you have had now 15 players out of that leaving because of injuries. So that's a huge list. So therefore, midfield. I think we'll come to talk about that a little closer to the 6th of June. We're still a while away on that. Creators Live, how the club owners make money as the ISL don't have sponsors, no viewership. Creators, they don't make money, they lose money. I mean, some might be surprised, but that's the reality of where football stands. Uh, you know, so therefore, they're losing the money. They don't make money. It's for certain people, it's about passion, it's about interest. Certain people are hoping that they can turn it around in the mid to long term. Or you are in a situation, let's say like Hyderabad, where you're hoping that you can get people in to invest and it doesn't work. So therefore, Yeah, that's how it is. Um, Kumar had another question. In head coach contract, can we keep in that contract if you beat tier two national team, you get a certain amount. If you fail to beat or make a draw with tier national team, contract terminated? No, Kumar, you can't. I think it every match has to be looked at individually, and normally you don't create contracts depending on how you are winning or
Hmm.
beating. You potentially could get a
Set a
contract where
goal.
you if you qualify for a tournament, there could be a bonus or this or that. Or let's say India qualified for the round of 16 at the Asian Cup, the team would have gotten anyway. The federation would have gotten a bonus, and out of that federation bonus, you could have given the coach and the
Hmm.
players a bonus. But these kind of things you
But
can't. Yeah, no coach will sign such a contract as you are suggesting.
एग्जैक्टली एग्जैक्टली इतना मतलब वो नहीं होगा एंड नेगोशिएशन में आई थिंक वो डिपेंड रहेगा दूसरी चीज ये भी है कि फॉर यू ओनली टू टू टूर्नामेंट मैटर सिंपल एज दैट एट इंटरनेशनल लेवल एशियन कप एंड वर्ल्ड कप क्वालिफायर्स. So you need to negotiate accordingly that cycle. Okay, what's your objective for if you're signing a coach for next 2 years? Then your objective should be कि भाई जैसे सर ने बोला कि round of 16 in Asian Cup or maybe round 3 in the World Cup qualifiers. I think that kind of a goal can be put up in a negotiation and in a contract. Other than that, I don't think so. कि match by match or anything like will be agreeing by any coach.
Exactly, and that's the challenge. And that's something yeah, that's an interesting one. Raj, if they don't make profit, then why would anybody invest? Raj, I think sports around the world, most people who invest in sports
Ask
don't
for patient.
don't do it because they want to make money. Because making money in professional leagues, professional sports, I think is very very tough around the world, right? Even if you ask people who've invested, let's say the guys who invested in Man United, the Glazers, you know, if you look at other investments in some of the biggest clubs, for example, PSG, the Qataris, you're not going to make that money back. You spend billions on that now. So therefore, it's about passion, right? So therefore, that's a difficult one. Aaron asking, I League owners also lost money so many years. Why only the empathy shown to ISL owners? I League owners kept investing for decades. RNR, yes, very valid point. But the money that they've invested, and the some of the ISL owners are losing in a year more than some of these people have lost in a decade. So that is also a reality that the numbers are X times higher. The investment into an
Higher.
ISL team is much, much more than an I League team, and therefore it's not comparable. There are teams playing I League who have 2 to 2.5 crores as budgets. ISL teams, the top teams are spending 60, 70. One team most probably spend about 100 crores this season. So I mean, it's 1 to 40, 1 to 50 ratio potentially in regard to investment. So
Hmm.
therefore, I think that comparison is, I think, in my opinion, very, very tough. I don't know what you think, Hiren.
नहीं नहीं एग्जैक्टली एग्जैक्टली आई थिंक एंड ऑल्सो आई लीग डेफिनेटली क्लब्स ने यहाँ पे पहले वो किया था बट दैट प्रोफेशनलिज्म वाज मिसिंग फ्रॉम दैट क्लब्स ड्यूरिंग दैट टाइम ऑल्सो एंड आई थिंक विद द आईएसएल क्लब्स वो भी आया है एंड आई थिंक और भी आप देखिए जिस तरह से लीग भी प्रोफेशनल हुई और सारी चीजें हुई सो दे इन्वेस्टेड अ लॉट ऑफ मनी आई थिंक 10 साल में जितना आईएसएल क्लब्स ने इन्वेस्ट किया आई डोंट थिंक सो कि आई लीग क्लब जब से उन्होंने स्टार्ट किया तब से उतना किया होगा.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. That's the challenge. Raj says new names are in squad because of fans, but in starting 11, no new player will be there, only goes favorable play. Raj, if you really believe that because of fans, players have been picked, as I always like to say, you're living in La La Land. The coach sometimes plays to legalities, but he will not be able to make those things by saying, you know what, oh, fans want this guy, want that guy. It doesn't happen. And also starting 11. Name me players who deserve to be in the starting 11. Name me players who deserve to be in the squad. There are two players, I say. Sana Singh and Putea, and everybody else that anybody names. There are players at the moment in the squad that people are shouted for who are in the squad. They don't deserve to be in the squad. We have a talent problem. So wake up to that reality. Nowhere in the world does a coach decide, oh, they want this. Listen, the coach does brilliant PR. But someone in the background must have told him, this guy, that guy, this guy. Did any fan ask for Edmund Lardindika to be in the probables list or now in the final squad? So this is something which I say: wake up and let's live in reality and not think about what we do or what we don't do. Monak says if we obtain 1 point from 2 matches against Afghanistan, we don't deserve to be in third round. Monak, from your logic, then I'll say Real Madrid doesn't deserve 14 Champions League titles and don't deserve to
Titles.
be in the final. They should have been out against RB Leipzig. There is
That's football.
football. Football is not a fair game. The better team doesn't always
Mm.
win, right? I take the midweek example. Bayer Leverkusen. Bayer Leverkusen played one real bad match across the one bad match the whole season, and that was the final against Atlanta Bergamo.
Yeah.
And Granit Xhaka said it perfectly. He said, "Listen, I would have loved to not have been invincible in the Bundesliga, and would have lost 1, 2, 3 matches in the Bundesliga, still won the title, and would have then for that would have won the final against Atalanta Bergamo." So this
Mm.
is football is not a game which is fair. You know, if India beat Kuwait, move to 7 points, goal difference is the key criteria. We are indirectly through because we'll have
Mm.
to lose so heavily against Qatar, and Afghanistan would have to score so many goals against Kuwait. Not going to happen. Deserved or undeserved. And again, Real Madrid to me is the perfect example. Real Madrid, you know, even in the last few years, whenever they've come to the final, they've been, on the way they've got luck. But in the end, we will all forget that because you say, oh, listen, they won the title.
Mm. At the end
You
of
know,
the day, वही तो चीज है. At the end of the day, it's a title which for people remember. How the
because
team plays, how the team didn't play, no one remembers.
and Moinok said, let's how the team performs after 4 weeks of camp. Moinok, the performance doesn't count. I go back to a match which I saw 2022 India versus Hong Kong, Salt Lake Stadium. India won 4-0. And I was watching it besides Renedy gave an interview to the AFF and saying, listen, I thought Hong Kong was actually better and Hong Kong lost 4-0. So it doesn't matter. End result is what is counts. At the end result, listen, anyone talking about possession football, building up from the back, doing this, doing that, I don't care. I want results on one side. If we play better football, it's a bonus. Our style of play, we don't have a style of play. You know, team was clinical. Yeah, some will say clinical, some will say they were lucky. So choose what you want to take. South Cup last year, we had to go penalty shootouts, right? So these are the realities which I would like to not to forget. I don't know what Hiren, what you think, but we have to, it's nobody cares. Does anybody care about that Goa was so good or the Blasters were so good in the first leg of the ISL? In the end, we're going
Exactly,
to talk
exactly.
about Mohun Bagan and Mumbai City. Hiren?
I think नहीं, I think एक चीज मेरे को लगता है कि इम्पोर्टेंट है कि यू हैव टू गो विद दी, मतलब जो उस टाइम पे जिस तरह की फुटबॉल चल रही है एंड जो आपको रिजल्ट दे रही है उसके ऊपर फोकस करना चाहिए रादर देन कि आप वो डिजर्विंग है, वो तो बात की बात है. और एट द मोमेंट इंडियन फुटबॉल उस मोमेंट उस मुकाम पे पहुंचा भी नहीं है कि उसके ऊपर हम बात करें कि playing good and winning result is not the, you can say कि Indian football's target at the moment. The target should be at the moment कि कैसे भी करके जीते. एंड इंडिया जब आप अब टॉप 10 कंट्री में होगा तो ये सारी बातें आती है कि हमने अच्छा खेल के जीता, बुरा खेल के जीता. वो बात आप उस टाइम पे कर सकते हो व्हेन यू हैव अ लग्जरी ऑफ प्लेयर्स एंड यू कैन से कि यू कैन प्ले 2 3 4, यू कैन से कि गुड स्कोर एट द इंटरनेशनल लेवल, तब वो बातें हो सकती है. एट द मोमेंट तो दिस आर द ऑल द आई वुड से कि नॉट शुड बी द प्रायोरिटी. अल्टीमेट प्रायोरिटी यही होनी चाहिए कि आपकी नेशनल टीम किस तरह से ज्यादा मैचेस जीते. आपके प्लेयर्स की भी आप देखिए बेसिक यहाँ पे अगर वो एग्जीक्यूट अच्छे तरीके से नहीं कर पाते, दिस डिफरेंट डिफरेंट प्लेइंग स्टाइल, हाउ कैन दे गोना एग्जीक्यूट. आई थिंक जितना सिंपल रखेंगे उतना ही यहाँ पे इफेक्टिव होंगे, अदरवाइज इट विल बी अ कॉम्प्लिकेटेड थिंग. And आपने देखा नहीं मैच कल ही यहाँ पे जो अभी एट द मोमेंट यूएफए यूरोपियन चैंपियनशिप चल रहा है अंडर 17 का, उसका मैच मैं देख रहा था पोर्टुगल वर्सेस इंग्लैंड का अंडर 17 का। एंड कल हमको पता है परसों आपका अंडर 17 का हमारा एएफएफ का भी यूथ लीग का फाइनल था। अब देखिए कि जिस तरह की क्वालिटी एंड जो डिफरेंस है, वी वर रियली रियली फार बिहाइंड, बहुत ही ज्यादा डिफरेंस है एट द मोमेंट। उनके अंडर 17 के प्लेयर और हमारे जो मतलब टॉप लेवल हो गया, पोर्टुगल इंग्लैंड मीन्स टॉप लेवल फुटबॉल, एंड इधर आपका तो उसमें आपके प्लेयर डेफिनेटली आप बोल सकते हैं कि जो हमारे अपकमिंग प्लेयर आ रहे हैं वो थोड़े से उस तरह से आपको बेटर दिख रहे हैं, बट स्टिल देर इज अ ह्यूज डिफरेंस। एंड आपके जो अपकमिंग प्लेयर्स भी आ रहे हैं यंगस्टर भी, वो भी आपके एट द मोमेंट जो आईएसएल आई लीग में जो आपके टॉप प्लेयर खेल रहे हैं इंडियन प्लेयर, उन्हीं के लेवल के है, 19-20 का ही डिफरेंस है। अदर देन दैट दे आर आल्सो इन अ सेम क्वालिटी, सो द गैप इज ह्यूज। एंड पहले आपको उसको यहाँ पे क्या बोलते हैं कम करना पड़ेगा। एंड व्हेन यू हैव अ क्वालिटी प्लेयर्स देन यू शुड बी टॉकिंग अबाउट दिस tactics and these philosophies and all of these things.
And that is, I think, the biggest problem is that we need to build a football culture. I think
Mm.
that's and that's something, yeah, which has happened in the past and which will happen again. And just to add to that, sir, but the intent of winning is still missing. Is the intent really
Exactly.
missing? Is the intent really missing? Do we know that? Against Afghanistan in Guwahati, we took a 1-0 lead through a penalty. And then, yeah, at least there, we played badly, but we took the lead. So the intent of winning is always, very easily said, and is not. It's again, there was something missing, but what is missing? That's the job of the coach to find out and rectify those mistakes, improve things in a way that we are better than what we've played. So therefore, yeah, that's always a challenge. I feel that's always a challenge. Kumar Singh, how can we get the responsible coach? Otherwise, we will get a chameleon like yours who keeps on changing his words. Kumar, that's the job of the AFF.
AFF, exactly.
To do their homework and get the right coach. Not
Mm.
to just listen to what the coach says, but
And
check pedigree,
uh,
speak with people who've worked with him, and then and understand, okay, is this guy really as good or as bad as we think he is? And then take a decision. Very simple. That's your job. That's the job of that management of the federation. And the federation management has failed over the last 5 years. Whoever has been involved in the AFF has failed. That this coach, I wouldn't say at the start, I think the first year, as I always say, was good. But once COVID hit, after COVID, it's been, whatever he's been selling us, it's been downhill. Sorry to say that. I don't know what you hear and think, but that's my personal opinion.
नहीं, completely completely agree. And accountability वहीं पे आएगी, I think that, and coach employee है AFF का, so they should be asking the question after every tournament or matches. And आप देखिए कि आप ही उसको, आप देखिए एशियन कप के परफॉर्मेंस के बाद रिव्यू मीटिंग में आप बोलते हो कि forget about the Asian Cup, now focus on the World Cup qualifiers, starting with their statement. You are calling up a meeting for the review of Asian Cup and you are starting with this statement. If you say this statement in the last word of the meeting, then I can understand कि भाई हाँ आपने समझा, उनका रिव्यू किया, इन सारी चीजें की कि भाई ऐसा हो सकता है आगे, और सारी चीज जो भी डिस्कस करना था, फिर आप बोल सकते हो कि नाउ यू कैन फोकस ऑन दी वर्ल्ड कप क्वालिफायर्स, तो फिर समझ में आता है। बट यू आर स्टार्टिंग एंड गिविंग अ फ्री हैंड टू हिम एंड don't held accountable for any, you can say कि failure of that, and that is the worst Asian Cup for us. I would say 2011 से भी worst Asian Cup था, and still you are giving you can say कि walk over to him. So I think AFF अगर चाहता है तो accountability अभी से भी आ सकती है। अब देखिए perfect example है, why he is not doing a press conference when he announced it. He should be doing a press conference. इसमें तो कोई खर्चा नहीं होता है, अभी तो ये इधर भी है, इसमें क्या क्या कुछ होगा, बट ही विल नॉट डू दैट, बिकॉज अभी प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस में आप पूछोगे कि ये प्लेयर को क्यों सिलेक्ट किया, देन अगर वो फेल होगा एंड उसके बाद आप पूछोगे तो ही विल नॉट हैव आंसर।
Yeah. And Hiren, you're hitting the nail on the head. No, that's the real problem that we have. And we'll before R&R, I come to your point because this is interlinked to this. Does he have any plans of replacing his technical committee? Some of the coach selections in men's and women's football are concerning. Shaggy, no, it won't. At the moment, I don't think so. And this is something which, again, is interlinked to leadership at the right level because people are washing their hands off and saying, listen, you know what? I just signed the contract because I was told to sign this. So nobody knows who, Steamach has been very smartly, playing around with the federation on that front. And as you say, the appointments, in the men's and women's, some of them are I don't know, appalling. And it seems to me that there is being appeasement being done to state association to appoint XYZ to those positions. If the senior women's coach, you know, women's coach is someone who's had problems with certain players in the past, that is known. How can you bring her in and then those statements made pitch side in the Turkish Women's Cup disqualifies her and she's still there? So that shows you the problem of leadership in the AFF, Shaggy. I think that's the, I don't know, Hiran, how you see it, but that's my biggest concern, that the right leadership can again, financial problems, problems of scheduling, all of things can happen, but decision making is still, will be very, very important.
Exactly, exactly. I think that is the most important part, and उसमें कहीं ना कहीं आई थिंक ज्यादा हम फेल भी कर रहे हैं टीम में। पहले भी हमने बात की ना कि जिस तरह का इन लोगों ने सिलेक्शन किया है कोचेस का, आई थिंक दैट्स द रियली रियली कंसर्निंग थी। कल मैंने मतलब अब देखिए यूसीएल का फाइनल देखा वुमेन्स का। वुमेन्स फुटबॉल भी पिछले 10 सालों में जिस तरह से ग्रो किया है, दे गोना यू कैन सी गोना अनदर लेवल। एंड उसके लिए भी आप देखिए, मैं अभी रिसेंटली एक आर्टिकल सर पढ़ रहा था रिगार्डिंग यूएस वुमेन्स नेशनल टीम। एंड वो भी अब यहाँ पे आप देखिए कि कंसर्न हो गया है विद दिस यूरोपियन जैसे कि वुमेन्स फुटबॉल जिस तरह से वहां पे आगे बढ़ रहा है, चैलेंज कर रहा है। नहीं तो पहले यूएसए नेशनल टीम का कोई मुकाबला नहीं कर पाता, पर हमने अभी यहाँ पे वर्ल्ड कप में भी देखा जिस तरह से आप देखिए दूसरी टीमों ने उनको चैलेंज किया है। सो वुमेन्स फुटबॉल में भी जो हमने को एक एडवांटेज मिला था अर्ली स्टार्ट करने का, कि जब वो ऑल ओवर द वर्ल्ड नहीं खेला जाता था, इंडिया ने यहाँ पे अर्ली एडवांटेज लिया था, वो भी हम यहाँ पे इसी डिसीजन लेके यहाँ पे आगे बढ़ेंगे तो वी आर गोना लूज दैट, वी आर गोना लूज दैट।
And that's a concern. Going back to that I League discussion, R&R has a one second has a point that he's making. But I League owners kept football floating, the Dempo Sargaonkar, etc. Yes, but you've had clubs walking away. Huh? You've had JCT, the first ever champion of the NFL. They walked away. Mahindra United walked away. Dempo Salgaonkar, Sporting, Churchill, all of them walked away when the ISL came around. So that this walking away from Indian football in some sort of form way has happened. And of course, you're asking a valid question. How long will the ISL keep pumping money? They might walk out someday and Indian football top tier suffers. It has happened. It's again, as I said, Mahindra has walked away, former champion. JCT, former champion, has walked away. So this saw, so therefore, let's wait and see what is going to happen. And yeah, let's again, to me, anyone who's willing to spend money on Indian football, that to me is a positive thing. I'll honestly say that, and to me that is something which I found very, very good. And anyone who wants to spend money should be welcome to Indian football. So to me that is very, very important. R&R, some fans want 6 June loss. Sunil's last match, so he goes out, but I would want third round quarters. We rub shoulders with best in Asia. Um, and the added point is still Igor will stay if we qualify. Hiren, your take on this?
आई थिंक इसका शॉर्ट टर्म एंड लॉन्ग टर्म आपको फिर ऑब्जेक्टिव देखना पड़ेगा। शॉर्ट टर्म आपको ये होगा कि जैसे राउंड 3 में आप क्वालिफाई कर जाओगे, निगोस्टी में रुक भी जाएगा फिर तो आई डोंट थिंक सो कि एफएफ हैव बॉल्स टू सेकंड देन आफ्टर दैट क्वालिफिकेशन इनटू द राउंड 3। बट लॉन्ग टर्म में आपको फिर आप इसी साइकिल में आप राउंड 3 से तो आगे नहीं बढ़ पाओगे, वो भी तो गिवन है। एंड अगेन देन यू विल स्टार्ट अ न्यू साइकिल, एंड फिर से वही होगा कि भाई राउंड 3 क्वालिफाई नेक्स्ट साइकिल में हम करना चाहेंगे। एंड this again Eagles image maybe have a past 2 3 4 years maybe, and then hoga to I think you need to have a clear cut goal to what's your objective in next 2 2 3 years for a national team. Where do you want to see them in the Asian Cup, in the World Cup qualifiers, and how do you want to do a transition from this Sunil Chhetri era? I think that's also important question. So these are the question for the AFF and technical committee where they wants to go from here. But I don't think so they have any, maybe they didn't have even discussion about this, so I don't know. So that is the thing. But I think best result would be a
But
draw. And
but but Hiren, Akshata is here. Akshata,
Yeah, hi,
yeah,
and then
hi,
thank
Hiren.
you, Akshata, for joining us after a long, long time. We're
कैसे हो
seeing you.
आप?
Good to see your face. Akshata, directly the tricky question to you. Read it. Hiren
Some
was
fans
trying to
want
answer it.
lost Sunil's last match so that Igor is out, but I would want so that we rub shoulders with Best Nation. I mean, guess, but are there fans who really want him to lose his last match? It's just so sad if people are wanting that. I mean, after what all that he has done for Indian football,
Akshata, I am mixed on that because I don't want Stimac to continue.
हाँ
So
मतलब we need to find another reason
I'll
to
be
वो है ना.
honest that for me, the Indian football as a bigger picture is more important than Sunil's last match. Sorry to say that.
हाँ
And I
मतलब
would
वो.
say that to Sunil's face.
Mm.
But overall, I don't know if there is anybody monitoring what's happening around the team, what kind of efforts is Igor putting. मतलब technically आप notice period में नहीं हो, but in a way you are in performance improvement program ना. अगर आप पिप में डाले गए हो तो somebody should be moderating it.
So see the problem that I see, at least the videos which are coming out, and from what I'm hearing from the camp, there's a lot of physical training going on. Where I would say, given that what has happened in the last few months, I would have said go out and train twice a day on the field, and if need be, 4 or 5 hours a day. Maybe even work one session in the morning on basics, in the afternoon work on tactics. And this I remember when we were in the first season of the ISL, certain top level players who played at the highest level were saying, you know what, you guys do more gymming in a day than I did in a whole month at a club in Europe. I've said this a few times. So therefore, this is something which I see that our priorities, or even our national team coaches' priorities in regard to preparing a team, are wrong, I feel. In the worst case, you've got time. Go onto the field twice. In the worst case, do a third session, which is a theory session out. And this is something which this is like, we're doing aise karke, aise karke. Sadly, the coach looks like he's a gym instructor. He looks like an aged gym instructor who's there and and then creating a little bit of a nice atmosphere. I need you're a Liverpool fan, you will want a Klopp kind of character, or I would like a Pep Guardiola. I've seen Guardiola is insane. Your brain is supposed to work 24/7 football.
Yeah.
So that is something which I need in this team, and I need to galvanize this team and make them understand, guys, this is a huge opportunity. Forget what is happening against Afghanistan. We need to take this whole thing forward.
God knows what's going to happen.
That's my
मतलब,
concern.
I mean, it's just so sad that we are in a position where we are wanting our team to lose for the greater good
नहीं
of the
नहीं
team.
but
मतलब, मतलब बड़ी
नहीं,
picture के लिए.
that will not happen. Don't worry. We are discussing at the moment scenarios, but that the tough sport would not have been a happen. Will not have been a happen because we are gonna lose. So
See, Akshata, Hiren is even a step further than us.
I have maintained my prediction from a long time. I don't think so. We are gonna win this match honestly.
So that is that. Let's wait and see some
Also,
more.
guys, congratulations,
Because
IPL
sir
has
now
come to an end. So 10 दिन थोड़ा
नहीं नहीं
cricket से आराम. जनता को.
हाँ, because sir now other people जो हम लोग कब से बात कर रहे थे now other people are also saying that the team atmosphere is not right.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I think some players have unofficially spoken to certain people, and those people have also woken up to realities. And so let's see. Saska says MSA fought 18 by any most. Yeah, that's a fact. Debrup says just saw a post from IFTWC that Diamantakos is going to Mumbai instead of EB. I think that's been. I think East Bengal has been preparing for that, and has been trying to create a narrative to say, listen, you know what, we don't want the player.
Senda is doing the street.
So to me is which again would prove a point. Diamantakos is going. If he goes to Mumbai, he's going for the project. If he's going to East Bengal, he's going for the money.
But I have a question for both Hiren and Anua. What are your views on the transfers planned for East Bengal? Because I read a couple of tweets in which the hope that East Bengal is gonna have a tremendous next season. अभी से इतनी ज़्यादा है. because there were some hopeful tweets. I was not very
There
active,
are,
so and I'm not aware of what is happening, so I wanted to just ask.
I think noise and hype around the Kolkata club will be always be there in every transfer window. So आई थिंक सेम चीज़ यहाँ पे लास्ट सीजन भी लास्ट ट्रांसफर विंडो भी मेरे को परफेक्टली याद है कि जहाँ पे ईस्ट बंगाल और इनके रिगार्डिंग इस तरह के यहाँ पे नाम निकल के आते थे एंड इवेंचुअली वो ऐसा कुछ हुआ नहीं एंड सेम चीज़ यहाँ पे एट द मोमेंट आ रही है नाउ स्टिल देयर इज ए र्यूमर ऑफ अबाउट अपुया इज नॉट मतलब आप अब देखिए कि टाई डाउन आई थिंक स्टिल इट्स गोइंग ऑन कि अपुया आ रहा है एंड
I can tell
एवरीथिंग
you at this moment, Apuya has not been approached by any club. He has a contract with
क्लब
Mumbai. Yes, there is a release clause. There's been no conversation. There's no conversation. And if you see that East Bengal has been linked to players, either they have done the deal, Devjit Mojumdar, Provat Lakra, Mehdi Talal, deal done. The other players are players who are contracted 2, 3, 4 years to other clubs. Suresh, Apuya, Vipin. I saw Roshan was put into the mix now as well. All these players are contracted on long terms. Is East Bengal willing to spend? East Bengal does not have the money to spend that much of money to sign the players. And East Bengal tried to outspend Mumbai City on Diamantokos. Now, if Mumbai City don't get Diamantokos, they will find another striker because CFG will organize them a striker in regard to, listen, this is our talent pool. We will find something. So therefore, East Bengal is trying to outpay, and they don't have that money. If East Bengal actually spend the money that and try to sign all the players that they're trying to sign, they do not have the money to spend. They don't have the money at the end of the season to actually keep their commitments. That is at the moment the reality, because the ISL is one big problem, that we have so much of money spending with especially Mohun Bagan, Mumbai, but even BFC, Goa, Odisha starting to spend. Chennai in this season are looking to spend a lot of money. So therefore, the competition is big, and therefore, for a club like East Bengal, with its history, with its pedigree, it needs to build from season to season. It is not something that in 2 years you'll jump and try to win the title. It will not happen in this league. This league is now settled. It's not 4, 5 years back when you could go up and down, up and down, up and down. But you need a basic, and that is something which the problem is that you will not be able to sell this in Kolkata. The media will not take it, the fans will not take it. But if I was in charge of East Bengal, I would tell guys, this is a 2, 3 year project where you need to build a team. In the first 3 years, East Bengal did always a new start. This is the first time in the history of the ISL that they're keeping their coach. But the coach has shown some, if I find some deficiencies, because again, he has been a very good cup coach, but in the league, he and the team couldn't deliver. Now, even if I bring in Diamantakos and I suddenly have Talal, Diamantakos, and Clayton, my defense and my midfield is not good enough. And I need to bring in quality Indian talent. And the quality Indian talent is not available. You know? So therefore, yeah, that's the challenge. So therefore, Diptoraj, there is no confirmation. And again, Dimi Petratos, sorry, Dimi Petratos saying, Diamantakos needs to decide what makes sense for him. So therefore, it will be very interesting to see. And Kumar says, Mumbai City ahead in the race for Diamantakos. IFTWC reported 15 minutes back. As to me, all of this doesn't count. The only thing that counts at the end of the day is where does he put his signature. We can talk. It's like what we've been having. This Liverpool at least didn't have that much of a circus in regard to their coach, because Arne Slot at some stage said, you know what, I want to coach Liverpool, right? Look at Barcelona. Irene is a Barca fan. Bhai,
Oh, God.
coach gaya, coach ko bola, bhai, please stay. Are you said something bad about us? Get lost. We're getting someone new. Just get out. One of the biggest players to have ever played for FC Barcelona is being kicked out by the club after they begged him to stay. And the third one, I'm a Bayern Munich fan. Bayern Munich has been searching for a coach for months. Ye wala, ye wala, ye wala, ye wala. Huh? And the thing is, um, you wanted Alonso. Alonso wasn't on the market. Then you wanted Nagelsmann, didn't want to sign. Then you wanted Ralf Rangnick, didn't want to sign. Then Roger Schmidt was on the list. Then De Zerbi was on the list. Then I don't know, some other whatever was on the list. Flick was supposed to come back. Flick then said, no, 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 I'm not available. Why? Because he's supposed to go to Barcelona and sign next week a contract. And he has a contract already with Barca. You know. So therefore,
And at the end of the day, Vincent Company.
and I think
Yeah.
it's out of nowhere. Vincent Company turns up, and I think Pep
Uh,
Guardiola is has his hands in this. I think they checked with Pep and said, listen, Vincent Company, your former captain, uh, in Anderlecht they rated him very highly. Burnley last
hmm.
year he did very well to bring them out of the championship with record points. This year he stuck to his game. Um, and suddenly, it is something which is which makes it interesting. Again, we're drifting away, but this to me explains this whole how this whole this rumor
Transfer
mill
thing.
of the transfer market works. Bayern Munich did the Pep Guardiola deal. They worked on him for over 6 months. Nobody knew on the day of that announcement that Pep Guardiola is signing with Bayern Munich. Uli Hoeneß, the Bayern patron now, who was then the sporting manager of the club, met Guardiola multiple times in New York. So again, why not in Barcelona or in Munich or in London or Paris or Amsterdam, whatever? They went to New York, so nobody gets to know the story. And this is if I was now running a club, this is how I would do it. I do not want my club to be every day in the news and say, "Arey bhai, ye aa raha hai, you are." And the craziest thing about East Bengal is the coach has released a list, and most of the players on that list are contracted for 3, 4, 5 years.
अच्छा कोच ने लिस्ट ही रिलीज कर दी कि
Ah,
इतने प्लेयर में से मेरे को
that's
चाहिए.
why the Suresh came up. Suresh has a long-term contract. It's BFC are building a team around him. I understand that Quadrat wants to work with Suresh because he's worked with him. He knows what that player can deliver. Right? The wish list of the coach is the who is who of Indian football. So therefore, that list got out, and that list has been played around, and everyone is building. Therefore, it's very difficult. And if I go back, Rachit asked a question: do you think Mumbai would be offering 4 crores seriously? No, I don't think so. I know that they're not offering him that much money. They're offering him quite a bit less. So that's the reality, you know. And exactly, for 4 crore, no foreigner playing in India at the moment is worth that much of money, and that is another problem. There are players. I jokingly say there are players who are owning 2, 3, 4 crores in India. They can come to my home club FC Remscheid. They would not get 300 euros over here, and they most probably would sit on the bench. That is the brutal reality check of our football structure, that we have too many people who are throwing around money, and they're literally destroying Indian football with that. That is my concern. No. And Sambit Sharma says Mumbai project depends on the mood of corporate owners. Maybe you had affection for Mumbai, but the amount of money they spend, they didn't get much trophies and fans. Sorry. Sambit, I think Mumbai has created a structure again, and I don't have affection. I was involved. I set the bloody club up in 2014, right? So it's like an own baby of mine. And I know that Mumbai has been set up in a way that it can run for a long term. And with the City Football Group coming in, they have helped the system to grow. That's why Mumbai was able to plug its problems in the winter like no other team except Mohun Bagan. Mohun Bagan made two big signings in the winter, in my opinion. Habas and Johnny Kauko came back, transformed the team. You know, so therefore, for me, this whole discussion uh, uh, um, is non-existent, and only one club in India can pull off the big deal is Mohun Bagan. Shomo, yeah, you're right, but Mohun Bagan are overspending. To me, there are players that they signed who I can say you could have signed for 20-25% less, and they still would have signed for you. we have a deadly situation that this market is spending too much.
Hmm.
Pujan says it's just the beginning for East Bengal. We're increasing our budget. Fans are contributing as well, and big industries who are fans are also in the mix, paving our path for glory. Pujan, I hope that's true, because it sounds to me a little bit like what the Hyderabad story has been now for a while. That something is happening, something's going to happen, and that is something. It will not work. I'd rather, and East Bengal is an institution. And the same thing applies to my opinion, Mohammedan Sporting. The problem is of these two clubs now is you will try to compete with Mohun Bagan, but you don't have a Sanjeev Goenka in the background who's willing to bankroll you, right? East Bengal is
Hmm.
coming out of a history where you had Mr. Malia, who gave the same amount of money to Mohun Bagan and to East Bengal, sometimes even more to East Bengal, especially in the early 2000s when they won the ASEAN Club Cup, right? That reality check, big clubs have to have that reality check, only spend what you have. That would be my advice, because from a family standpoint, yes, I sympathize, I support East Bengal, but East Bengal needs to do the right things. That is what be my only advice to the club, you know and let's see.
I know, Hiren,
um,
do we have any update on the Indian women's team's matches against Uzbekistan?
no.
It's here only, I think 31st May ko hai first match.
Yeah, they're
Hmm.
supposed to leave for Uzbekistan, I think tomorrow, day after latest, no, to prepare
I also had
themselves.
another
नहीं नहीं I think 29 को 28 या 29 को डेट है.
I
So
also had a question since we are discussing transfers. How are the transfers operating in the Indian women's football setup? Because IWL के पहले there were certain things जिसमें कुछ players railways के लिए खेलते हैं या कुछ कोई और private उसके लिए खेलते हैं, and they had to be brought back for the IWL, and also there is some sort of confusion, right? So how does that function?
see, the problem is that the women's structure is still in a
Developing
developmental
stage.
stage. It's not final, exactly, Hiren. It is not final. The problem is in India also. I feel there's the problem of everything is declared. If you're paying money, it's declared to be sort of professional,
Hmm.
Hmm.
and we need to make the distinction between professional, semi-pro, and amateur.
Hmm.
And in India as a society, we need to get to the point at lower level. If we're looking at even at grassroots level, coaches are being paid. Here in Europe, at grassroots level, even at the bigger clubs, uh, uh, um, coaches are happy to get their basic costs of
The
travel and transport covered, even at the big clubs, right? Until a few years ago, even at the biggest clubs, the under nines, under 11s, under 13s would have been, part timers, mostly students. So
and
that is
I
our
think
problem. People are running after
and
jobs. I have to produce results. At grassroots, it's not about FICO should be not about producing results, but producing players.
No, the reason I ask this is because if I want to, for instance, do a video on which clubs people are there in the Indian squad against Uzbekistan, right? So IWL to khatam ho gaya na. Are they still a part of that club or not? Like, is that video valid?
Theoretically, yes, but again, interestingly, if you see the AFF in the past used to always write in brackets men's and women's, even at junior level, which club do the players belong to.
बिलोंग
They
टू
don't do that.
ये हर किसी जगह पे होता है. ये
Hmm.
हर किसी जगह पे होता है. मतलब
Hmm.
अब आप किसी भी
So,
टीम
so
का नेशनल टीम का अनाउंसमेंट होता है उसमें होता ही है.
हाँ मतलब clubs. अभी I was checking Liverpool. They had mentioned कि कहाँ जा रही हैं लड़कियाँ कहाँ खेल रही हैं.
So to me is the women's game. The structure is just being formed. As you say, certain players are with railways, certain have army, certain are police. Um, which you also had in the men's game, right? A lot of players used to be working for Eastern Railway and Metro. So I was joking, telling one player, national team player at the time, many years back, I said, "Bhai, will I just go to the metro and you'll be sitting at the ticket counter selling me the ticket or what? Because you are a metro employee." So that's one of the. I said, "You're not going to be driving the train, right? You don't have a license to drive a train, right?"
And
So
also to the education to serve at a higher level, that's also there.
exactly. So
But
so
I
there are a lot of honorary jobs. I know that for example, certain players again were with the police, were higher level police officers but never served in the police.
Hmm.
So these things happen. I think the point is it depends. It's, look at also, for example, the AFF wanted to put in a minimum salary for women's players
women's.
into the IWL, where the club said we can't pay that.
Yeah.
And that is, these are the realities, right? That the reality is in the men's game we're already spending too much. In the small scale in the women's game they're already also spending too much, because your income is a big zero. And that is the core question that we should be talking about.
And I think,
I think,
sir,
yeah.
ऐसा तो सब क्रिकेट में ही है.
एंड आई थिंक ओवरऑल भी आप वुमेन्स फुटबॉल देखें तो अभी ग्रोइंग स्टेज पे ही है. आई थिंक अभी जो रिसेंटली फीफा ने भी जो एक वो निकाला था कि उन्होंने इंटरनेशनल विंडो भी एक कम किया है, उसमें उन्होंने बोला है कि स्टिल एट द मोमेंट जो इंटरनेशनल वुमेन्स फुटबॉल है वही ड्राइविंग फोर्स है ऑल ओवर द. आप देखें देयर आर लेस प्रोफेशनल लीग्स इन वुमेन्स फुटबॉल, ओनली 28%. ऑल अराउंड द वर्ल्ड ओनली 28% प्रोफेशनल लीग्स. तो ये जो ट्रांसफर का जो पूरा स्ट्रक्चर है वो आई थिंक इंडिया में भी अभी इस साल ही पूरा प्रॉपर आपका तो लीक हुआ है 2-3 महीने का होम एंड अवे बेसिस पे. सो आपकी ट्रांसफर विंडो एंड ये सारी जिस तरह से लीक ग्रो होगी एंड उसके बाद आई थिंक ज्यादा बेटर तरीके से वो हो पाएगा.
So, but
But again, there should be some
I'll ask
data
you,
clarification, ना मतलब
but I'll ask you,
आपके पास एक Excel होनी चाहिए.
but I'll ask you one question. I'll ask you, both of you. Would you say the IWL is a professional league?
This last season, it didn't feel like.
I'm not asking in the field. I'm asking, would you term it as a professional league? I ask you both, Akshata and Hiren.
ये जो लास्ट वाला हुआ उसको मैं यहाँ पे अभी सेमी प्रोफेशनल बोलूंगा, फुल्ली प्रोफेशनल नहीं. ये जो लास्ट सीजन अभी हुआ है.
Yeah. मतलब लास्ट डे का अगर the one thing that stays in my mind is कि लास्ट डे के जो मैचेस थे वो स्ट्रीम नहीं हुए टाइम पे. जो जो दो मैचेस जो मतलब टू टीम्स फाइटिंग फॉर द टॉप स्पॉट, उनके मैचेस टाइम पे स्ट्रीम नहीं हो रहे हैं. तो कहाँ से प्रोफेशनल सेटअप?
See, if I look at it, Odisha FC to me is a professional team. The way they're doing, they've done great work by the whole team behind the team. I think Odisha doesn't get enough credit for what they've built. I think people have a lot of discussions with Rohan Sharma as well, and again I would give Rohan also with everybody else a lot of credit. With Raj, with Abik being in there. Forgot her name. What's the lady who's running?
Hilda.
She and what's the gentleman who was before that heading women's? Randeep. So Randeep Barua as well. Yeah. So these people deserve a lot of credit. So I think, and they've done a lot of things which you most probably would have not been able to do at other clubs.
Yeah.
And of course, they have one big advantage. They have the huge backing of the government. Right? And there you have to give them the credit for that. Gokulam Kerala, I think, does not get the credit that they should. They've got a successful men's team and a women's teams for the last 5-6 years. So the Gokulam group is spending a lot of money, and on the other side, you see other teams in that league. You have Sports Odisha playing in there, where you say, okay, Sports Odisha is better than most other teams, right? But Sports Odisha for me is not a professional setup. It's more of a sort of a development academy setup.
Kickstart
again, men's and women's, where the women's are more successful than the men's. At Gokulam, you can argue both of the teams have won the respective leagues. Um, and I
East
give
Bengal.
East Bengal the credit for what they've done in the women's game, but it's still a developing and evolving system at East Bengal because they've taken a lot of tribal girls. Um,
Whatever happened to KBFC's women's team?
वो तो उन्होंने
their former coach sort of costed with his walkout in Bangalore.
I know, but
बैंगलोर.
at the time, I remember I got a lot of criticism because I said that fans should do something, try to be more vocal about it, and all the fans were trying to be understanding to the club. But what happened?
No, your
Where is the
problem is
women's
they were
team?
understanding to the coach.
Hmm.
See,
Okay.
you've now heard before the coach left and after the coach left that the club said, listen, the decision to walk out was wrong. And I know from players who were part of that squad who said it was wrong, but we couldn't convince the coach to change his decision. And the end result of that is that the Kerala Blasters have lost a lot of money and the women's team was shut down.
Yeah.
So that is the impact. So to me, Dark Knight says semi-pro, and Dark Knight, I would agree. To me, if you would ask me at this stage of where the women's league is, it is semi-pro. To me,
Semi pro.
the ISL is 100% pro. Even the I League, I can discuss. If I look at, for example, the way Neroka and Trau this season played the league, then to me it becomes semi-pro. But
आई लीग तो मैं इसके मतलब सेमी प्रो में भी मेरे तो डाउट ही है जिस तरह से वो ऑर्गेनाइज होती है जिस तरह का मतलब वहाँ पे सारा सेटअप होता है आई स्टिल फाइल इट्स टू
हमारे
टू
अम्बेडकर में मैचेस
रो
हो रहे
लीग
थे.
नहीं नहीं जिस तरह से मैच को भी ऑर्गेनाइज किया जाता है इट्स लुक लाइक यू कैन से कि एमर्चर टाइप आई मीन इफ यू सी अदर कंट्रीज एमर्चर लीग उसमें और इसमें आपको काफी ज्यादा उस तरह के जिस तरह से आप देखें कि पूरा जो मैच भी कंडक्ट होता है उसकी
I,
मैं बात कर रहा हूँ आई थिंक वो भी
Hiren,
उस
in
तरह से
ओनली देयर
Germany,
आर फ्यू क्लब्स दैट अभी अर्णवा ने जो नेम किए हैं उन्हीं की वजह से वो थोड़ा प्रोफेशनल लग रहे हैं. जैसे अगर
लग
आप
रहा
उनका
है
सोशल मीडिया या
हाँ
वैसे देखो तो वो दे टेक द एफर्ट टू मार्केट इट वेल, दे टेक द एफर्ट टू मेक इट लुक प्रोफेशनल. अदरवाइज और तो कुछ नहीं है.
the problem is that we have is everything. I mean, you will say that the Kolkata Football League is professional. The Goa Pro League is professional, right? It's even in full. It's called Goa Professional League. Um, I think my friends in Mizoram will say that the Mizoram Premier League is professional. These again, and that is because our structure is not defined, and that is something which is which makes it very in my opinion very interesting is and I think we can do a separate show on this is how are defining what is the pyramid, what is the structure, right? And that is a problem. I was coming to, for example, the German example. In Germany they would say, you know what, the women's league is semi-pro. I know girls who play women's Bundesliga who are students, and the Bundesliga is sort of a side gig because they get less what players get in the IWL. So for me, um, I know India is different than other countries because either you take up a profession or you don't. But I think we need to get to that point that when you are semi-pro, that actually you're playing a little bit football on the side and you're earning a salary in another way. You
बट
know,
यहाँ पे
बट
बोलने के लिए भी तो
फिर
होता
वो
है ना,
नहीं
बोलने के
फिर
लिए
वो
हमें बताना है
नहीं
कि प्रोफेशनल है. रियलिटी
नहीं
में जो
नहीं
भी हो.
फिर हम जैसे फैंस सर आ जाएंगे ना क्वेश्चन करने कि हमारे प्लेयरों को तो पूरा फुटबॉल खेलने को भी मिलता नहीं है साइड में जॉब करना पड़ता है अभी अभी जो है वो वही बताया जाता है ना तो वो वाला सिनारी हो जाएगा फिर कि ये तो काम भी कर रहे हैं और फुटबॉल भी खेल रहे हैं तो कैसे हम वर्ल्ड कप क्वालिफाई करेंगे
गाइस प्लीज इस मौके पे अगर किसी ने नहीं देखा है ना, एक 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 शो है अवेलेबल हॉटस्टार पे व्हिच इज कॉल्ड वेलकम टू नेक्स्ट, देख लो. इट शोज के विमेन सेमी प्रोफेशनल लीग में भी लोग कैसे ऑपरेट करते हैं, और there are people who work at restaurants, wash dishes, and then they're playing football for their own club or their country for that matter.
but again, that's the reality of of how things are around the world. And therefore, again, I know we wanted to talk about transfers, and and I see a lot of stuff being said on the timeline. This is it. A transfer cannot be made into a circus, and this whole transfer thingy is for me if and when I work again in a club, I will try and do my job at the best possible way. But I don't want, this all the time transfer ho raha hai, nahi ho raha hai, this, that, and everything. No,
But
it's
everyone,
it.
even fans are to be blamed for this now. मतलब there are people who are monitoring plane movements. कि
हाँ,
यहाँ से प्लेन उठ के उधर जा रहा है मतलब सोशल मीडिया एज इन विच ट्विटर इज नाउ पेइंग पीपल फॉर impressions. People are doing these random things,
I mean,
and some people actually
I
enjoy
saw
this
I saw a
also.
video that Fabrizio Romano was invited yesterday to the FA Cup final, right? And but their only talking point was with them is like, is Ten Hag staying or is Ten Hag leaving? Nobody asked him like, hey, how
living.
was the match? I mean, at the end of the
He's
day,
the
he
most
watched the match. He's a
influential
journalist, right?
person on Twitter. He was voted the most influential person on Twitter.
So therefore, again, I think,
Priorities.
and the thing is, again, if I look at the timeline, those of you who are Mumbai City fans want Dimi is done to Mumbai City. Those who are East Bengal fans want to believe he's done to East Bengal. And therefore,
नहीं,
I'm
you
saying,
won't. नहीं नहीं सर, यू वोंट बिलीव इट, दिस जिजांतेस एफसी जो बार्सिलोना के, मैं उसका नाम भूल गया, वो क्या है, वो जो जर्नलिस्ट है, उसने
हाँ, हाँ, हाँ.
हांसी फ्लिक जिस होटल में लंदन में रुका था वहां पे कॉल किया कि भाई मेरे को इस रूम का नंबर दो, मेरे को बात करनी है उससे। वो उसका तो अलग ही लेवल का वो चलता है भाई।
No, but
उसकी स्क्रूटिनी
Spanish media is deadly in this, na? Spanish media is deadly
डेडली,
in this, na?
एंड पर्टिकुलरली अराउंड बारसा। रियल मैड्रिड का तो फिर भी वो है, बारसा के अराउंड तो क्या बोलते हैं, जावी ने किस चप्पल, आज किस कलर की चप्पल पहनी है, वो भी वो स्क्रूटिनाइज होता है पूरा एकदम, कि कहाँ पे वो गया,
But
एवरीथिंग।
I
बट
understand
कुछ
it.
लोग
I
घेरे
mean,
घेरे कुछ लोग
Kumar,
मजे के लिए भी बोल देते हैं, अपने दोस्तों को
Kumar
बोलेंगे,
has
अपने
a
ट्विटर पे डाल देंगे और फिर वो
uh,
स्प्रेड हो जाता है.
but Kumar, of course, has a point. With the social fabric of India is completely different from any other country in the world. Yes, Kumar. But the point is, to me, is at the end of the day, if you want to make football viable, also for the people who are spending the money, it is not you who is spending the money. It's not me who's spending the money. It's the owners who are spending the money. Even if they generate money through the clubs, it is minimal. If Mr. Goenka tomorrow says, you know what, uh, 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 you know, if Mr. Goenka pulls out his money, Mohun Bagan will not be able to spend. They'll be in a East Bengal situation, and that is the reality. So you, at some stage in Indian football, we need to talk about how you're going to reduce the cost to keep the system running. And women's football to me is a prime example, be it in Europe, in North America, or even in an Indian context. They're doing the mistakes that have been done in the men's game. You're literally, copying the mistakes. You're just increasing the salaries. Right? So that is something is, for example, in Germany, they say, right, because now in the past you had a lot of women's clubs in the Bundesliga. Now you're left with two, with one, SGS Essen. The other ones are all men's Bundesliga teams. So therefore, I want the women centric clubs at the top level. If a team, I always say, do not force a men's team to have a women's team for the sake of having one. If a Mohun Bagan doesn't want a women's team, rather than spending a small bit of money and just keeping a team, for having a team, of saying, listen, I'm fulfilling license criteria, rather don't have it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's business at the end of the day.
So
I
that
mean,
is something.
emotions aside, it's business at the end of the day.
And I want this real, I would rather want an Alakpura to play at the top level with limited budget in the women's game, because it will not happen in the men's. I cannot have an Aizol playing ISL or
But
in
also,
Mallorca or
sorry,
a Trau.
a question I have in mind, but it just came to my mind. Is there any provision to support a club? Like, for instance, if you don't want to have a women's club, but there is a club that's doing well and you want to support it.
You mean in an Indian context or you mean in a global context?
No, in both contexts. Like, for instance, Mohan Bagan को अपना नहीं करना, hypothetically अपना कुछ नहीं करना है women's team का, but there is a club that they can support.
It is up to them. See, for example, let's take some of the biggest clubs in the world, right? Real Madrid took over a club to get to the top in the Spanish Liga
Liga F.
Liga F. Sorry, yeah, that was the letter I was searching for. Manchester United did that. In Germany, you can't do that. So Borussia Dortmund had to start, for example, in the lowest level. So they've even got a girl from Singapore who's a national team player who's playing. I think they're in the fifth division now. They started in the eighth, right? So they have to work their way up the pyramid. All the clubs have to. So the question to me is, uh, uh, um, the point here is, um, what is the best for the game? And that to me, for example, as the FSC Frankfurt was the most successful women's team in Germany. They at some stage integrated themselves into Eintracht Frankfurt, right? Who are a top team in the men's game, and now they're doing it. But Hoffenheim, for example, very good example. Hoffenheim
Very good
is
team.
worked its way up in the men's and the women's. Both they're going to be playing European Cups next season, where their focus is on developing players. And the best of their players in Germany then go to Frankfurt, Bayern, or to Wolfsburg. Wolfsburg has been invested 10 years ago into their women's team. They've won the Women's Champions League, right?
I think
So,
Wolfsburg is the best, I think, in Germany.
no, Bayern now.
Okay.
So from that perspective, uh, uh, for me is the biggest problem is, and again, yes, I think you guys are talking is spending a Mumbai City or talking about a Farmers League and all. Is the league good enough for a city football group to utilize India as a Farmers League? No, it's not. That I think that is a concerning aspect in football, no? That for a Man City, you can use Girona. Girona was supposed to be a farm team. Now Girona is supposed to play Champions League next season. So we need to wake up to certain realities of where we stand. How do we want to build? And it depends. For how you want to do it. Shreyam has a very interesting question. Are you in favor of working in the way up from Division 5 to 1, or like Techno Group pay 1 crore to be in CFL Premier, which helps the state or national favor? Which one is better? If you ask me, Shreyam, I have to live with the realities of the federation. And the federation, be it national or be it state, doesn't have money. Sorry, this is in your face. So you have to find means and ways of how to generate money. Now, if I look at the AFF, corporate entries, the biggest success story is BFC. 2013, came into the I-League, directly won the I-League. First 6 years, always won a title, even won an ISL title, right? But I've got the counter examples of Kalyani Bharat, of course, DSK Shivajans had other problems because the owners, of course, got implicated in financial fraud. So therefore, it is a question of what makes sense. The IFA doesn't have money, the West Bengal body. If Techno India Group comes to you and says, listen, guys, and they were sponsors of Aryan Club in the last few years, right? They've even sponsored East Bengal in the past. And if they come with you an offer and say, listen, 1 crore, with that 1 crore, you can do a lot of development in Bengal football. So I can't be taking a moral high ground and say, listen, no, you have to go to the lowest division and work yourself way up. I can do that in Germany, right? Even Red Bull, when they came in, they had to go to the 5th division with Leipzig, and they bought a 5th division club and then worked their way up. They sort of skipped the 5 lower divisions, but they still had to work their way up from the 5th division. Hoffenheim has come from the lowest division.
It's business at the end of the day.
Football is, yes, if I like it or not, as much as we love this game, as much as we want this game to be about passion, about idealism, it is about the money.
I think you need to react according to the situation. मतलब आप देखें there are example कि जिन्होंने जैसे सर ने बोला कि एकदम lower division से start करके top division पे पहुंचे. There are some example कि जिन्होंने direct top division से start किए then नीचे की चीजें यहाँ पे build up की है. So I think according to the situation, you have to react. I think that is the best solution. There is an, I think in किसी भी फील्ड में आई थिंक आइडियलिज्म हम यहाँ पे क्या बोलते हैं एडोर तो करते हैं वी गो फॉर दैट गोल बट आई डोंट थिंक सो कि एनीवन कैन अचीव दैट सो
I think it's a very tricky point and question because and Sanskar is asking if a Qatari group is investing in Indian football. None that I know of. I know of the owners of Sheffield United who've invested into Kerala United, and
यस
I think they are Kuwaitis, I think, right? Or is that Emiratis? I don't. They're from the Middle East, right? They've done it, but that's the only other one that I know besides City Football Group that have invested in India. The point is that we need to find solutions in India where the league becomes profitable. And if the league becomes profitable, then there are at least certain clubs will become profitable, and that money will trickle from the top to the bottom.
Right.
And that is the biggest challenge. That's the biggest failure of national level professional football in India since 1996 when the National Football League was started and JCT won the first season. That is the failure of the nearly last 30 years. Right? So, yeah,
सर
I mean, it's a very interesting discussion, and I think both of you want to leave. I think let's do another 5 minutes and then finish off the stream if you can. Yeah.
I will have to leave. I have to start something at 11:30.
Acha.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Thank
thanks.
you.
I think it was a very
Okay.
interesting social. Hiren, we'll just finish 2 minutes if you're fine.
ओके नो
Huh?
नो प्रॉब्लम
Thanks, Akshata, for joining in,
Thank you. Thank you. Good night.
and good night. Thanks, Akshata, for joining in, and follow her channel, Seeded Sports. If you're not, do follow it, and again, I've linked it in the text of both Curious Harry and Akshata. Um, wait one second. Arnab says we need to proper broadcasting rights solution, which is the main source of revenue. Arnab, and that's the point, right? No broadcasters wanting to spend money on Indian football, you know, and this
एटी
is
90%
something,
money will come from there
and to me is that is the biggest problem. I think the biggest sign that everybody should be worried is that when the Star deal ended last summer and FSDL went into the market, even brought a global agency to try and sell the TV rights. Nobody was willing to buy the rights. Nobody.
राइट
If you had come forward and said, "Listen, I will give you 1 rupee, and I will do the production cost of your broadcast," they would have given it to you, or to me, or to Hiren. So um, that is something which is very, very challenging for Indian football, na? And Sanskar, to your question, um, the answer is two ways. It is good that a team like Mohun Bagan is spending that much of money, right? That is good. But on the other side, for development, that is it's difficult. But you have to have other teams who then work on the development.
एक चीज आई थिंक ये लास्ट में डिस्कस कर लेते हैं कि काफी सारे लोगों को लगता है कि एवरीथिंग शुड बी आईएसएल और आईएफएफ शुड बी डूइंग देयर आर रिस्पांसिबिलिटी ऑफ एवरीवन अब छोटे से छोटी जो एकेडमी है ना अगर इंडिया में उसका भी रिस्पांसिबिलिटी आप हर जगह पे ये नहीं चाहेंगे कि आईएसएल क्लब है वो हर जगह पे जीतता रहे यूथ लेवल पे भी उनकी एकेडमी जीतती रहनी चाहिए या फिर वहां पे भी नो डाउट उनका सेटअप होना चाहिए सारी चीजें होनी चाहिए बट इट डजंट मीन कि यहाँ पे सारा चीजें वैसी होनी चाहिए अब आप देखिए कि रियल मैड्रिड के कितने एकेडमी के प्लेयर उनकी फर्स्ट टीम में खेल रहे हैं तो एवरी क्लब हैज अ डिफरेंट फिलोसॉफी डिफरेंट वर्किंग स्टाइल एंड उस तरह से आप सबका तभी सस्टेन हो पाएगा सभी एक जैसे मॉडल पे जाएंगे तो कैसे होगा
But you have to say that also the big clubs will always have one or the other player coming through the academy. Barcelona is a good example.
हाँ
Look at Man
एग्जांपल
United.
एग्जैक्टली
Man United is a good example. Even City, Chelsea, Bayern.
से
So all of these clubs bring so that's a different thing. And just as a last question, guys, I know we've discussed this. Yes, Tonmoy, yes, Rachi Group is giving them 7.5 crores in 3 years, but 2.5 crores across Bengal for football is not much. That they'll spend in Kolkata just to organize their leagues. So therefore, But they could have invested 1 crore in academy, start from third division. If their eventual dream is to be in RSL, they would have depend on limited player pool. But investing 1 crore in an academy will not get you anywhere, Shreyam.
Well,
If you want to build a real academy, you will have to spend 20, 25 crores on a proper academy, which nobody is actually spending. That is our problem. But you need to generate those 20, 25 crores to be able to spend on an academy. Our problem in the system is we are looking at it's a top down approach when it comes to club football. They want to be at the top because at the top is the glamour and everything, whatever you want to. But the development is happening at the academy level at smaller. Again, look at Classic Academy. Very good example. Yesterday won the under 17 league for the second year in a row. And look at Renedy's Instagram post. Renedy is the father of that academy, where they started in 2019, 5.5 years ago. But the question is, these players are then of a certain level. Will they take him to the next level? That's then the next question.
yes, sir.
You know? And therefore, guys, again, we could most probably continue this discussion. And maybe Hiren and I with Akshata and with maybe with others will do a show on this. Is where does this, where does this keep us? Where do we go? Which is more of a philosophical question, but it's an interesting question. I think we'll discuss it. And again, sorry we couldn't take all your points as well today. Turned out a little different than we planned, most probably. But again, that's the point of where you are. And Shreyam, to answer your question, no, Classic didn't have a budget. It's in Manipur, so you can build the academy on less. But would a group from Kolkata invest in Manipur? Would a group from Kolkata invest in Mizoram? That's also not happening. There is a lot of regionalism, a lot of tribalism in all of this as well. Will, let's say, Hiren is from Gujarat. Will a group from Gujarat invest in Manipur and Mizoram? Most probably not. So that is another reality that we have in India, and it's a very interesting discussion. I think we will do a we will do
Separate
Rahul is
show on that.
available and Akshata as well. We'll do a proper show on this because this is a very very interesting question that we have. Yeah, and that's done. And again, on you say Classic chain of hotels funded them exactly, but that's a local group from Imphal. There is no national group coming forward saying, "Arey bhai, Renedy itna acha kar raha hai. Let's give him the money. Let's let's support them." Not even after last year, after they won the under 17 youth league. So these are the realities of India and Indian football. Sadly, Hiren and I cannot change that. We can talk about it, but we cannot change that. And thanks again, Hiren, for taking the time to join.
Always.
Lovely discussion today. Thanks also for Akshata joining us after a long, long time. Those of you who are following, please follow Curious Harry. Let him reach the 20K. I think that's your next target now. You're very early.
Obviously.
And as Pujan says, yes, Renedy's, that is one thing. And Pujan, Renedy yourself, what kind of a character he is. I've known him. Luckily, I can call him a friend for the last 24 years. And he did something properly, and then you see the results. So that's the other thing. The last point: if you do something properly in India, in Indian football, it will take some time, but it'll give you the results. So what is it? It is not always about the funding. Renedy struggled with funding. It is about the will, the desire to do things properly, knowledge, and be honest. Results will come. So that is something which is Renedy himself is youth coach. Yes, that's again because Renedy also lives in the reality. He has to pays rents. He's got a family to sustain. And he sustained this academy out of his own pocket in COVID. So therefore, we have these examples, and I think Hiren and I will talk about these examples maybe a little bit more as well. That these are positive examples that are trying to change Indian football for good, and they need more support. They need most probably a little bit of more of coverage as well from us. So thanks once again, everybody who's joined. Again, as I said, please, again, I'm trying to get to the 1K. Slowly, I'm moving towards that aim. So therefore, that is something. And again, sorry, couldn't take up all your question queries. Again, we became a little bit more philosophical today in the end. But again, transfer market is not leaving us. Maybe we'll talk a little bit more in the coming days. And we'll be back very, very soon. Thanks a lot for guys for joining in. Thanks, Hiren, once more. Thanks of Akshat as well. So follow all the channels and we'll be back very, very soon. Thanks and good night, everybody.
Good night, guys.